My daughter is only 2, but I already see moments where she's challenged, whether it's stacking blocks, climbing something new, or getting frustrated when something doesn't go her way. And it's in those little moments that I realize grit starts early. Today, I want to talk about how we, as parents, can plant the seeds of grit through fitness, not by pushing our kids to train hard, but by showing them what it looks like to stay consistent, push through discomfort, and keep going when things get tough. Super excited to have you on today's podcast. Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about teaching your kids grit through fitness. Now, before I dive into today's episode, I like to go over anything fitness, nutrition, reading, anything that I think that you may find interesting. Maybe you like it, maybe you're not, but it's a good outlet for me to think through my thoughts and get everything out. So I do hope that you enjoy this aspect of today's show. If you heard back on a few podcast episodes ago, unfortunately got laid off from my job. So with that said, started job hunting and applying to jobs. Now, where I'm going with this story is I've been applying to these jobs and I started getting interviews and anywhere from 5 to 10 interviews a week coming on. And what was happening was I would schedule these interviews in the morning, 10, 9, 9, 10, 11 in the morning, and I would find that when I would go off and do an 8-mile run, especially when we're talking almost the middle of the summer right now, and I would come back and do the interviews, I was just absolutely cooked. Just wasn't doing a great job on the interviews. So what I've been doing is I've just been splitting up my runs. The goal is hopefully to be able to land a job in the next few weeks, and go back to my normal running. And more or less because, especially this past week, just got back from vacation. Last week was a short week. Split up some of my runs just to do more longer runs during the day while I still had interviews. I don't enjoy splitting up my runs too much. And what I mean by that is sometimes I'll finish the workout at the gym and I want to run 6 miles that day. I'll do 3 miles on the treadmill, 3 miles at home, just so I don't have to spend 6 miles running, even though I'm technically running 6 miles in that day. I don't like to do that too often, but sometimes it's beneficial when my time is constrained. This week I've been doing it pretty much every single day, and I don't mind it, but I prefer just to go out and run 5 miles, not run 2 miles at the gym, 3 miles outside, or 4 miles at the gym, 4 miles outside. And part of it is just being busy with these interviews, and then two, not wanting to necessarily run too much after these interviews. It's been in a, at least where I am in New York, significantly hot. It's been about 90s with almost 100% humidity. Not sure where you are in the country, but that's very hot. Me personally, I just don't enjoy running in that. I prefer to not get heat stroke if I could prevent it. I guess that's not really something to joke about, but would prefer that not to happen. And I find that once I start to get up 5 or 6 miles when it's 90 degrees outside, I can finish the run, but it's just not a fun place to be in. That's why I've been splitting up the run so I can still get a portion of my run done early in the morning. But the goal is find a job, get hired, go back to my normal training schedule that I'd have, and I'll be very thankful for not having to do any more interviews. It's not I wouldn't recommend it if you get laid off. It's not the not the most enjoyable time. You just hop on these interviews and you just tell your story over and over and over and over again and get critiqued and nitpicked. But that's neither here nor there. That's just a little bit about the training schedule. Felt good this week, back in the gym 5 days this week. Last week went on vacation and ended up going to the gym 3 days, but I was able to get the 30 miles in last week. Going to get the 30 miles in this week. The goal is next week to do a 10-mile run, which will be my longest run in about 3 or 4 weeks. But again, it's the summertime. Things come up. Routines, kids, vacations, whatnot. But I just try to do my best to stick with it when it comes to diet, when it comes to fitness. But that's a little bit about what's going on in my life right now, and something that I want to leave you with. I don't want to say leave you with, because I still have the whole podcast episode to go through, but it's a saying that I tell my wife that just really annoys her. So I hope she listens to today's episode. But I always tell her, it's not the heat that gets you, it's the humidity. I can't. It'll be 90 degrees and 15% humidity. I'm fine. It'll be 70 degrees, 100% humidity. I'm just dying. I come home. I'm just sweating, and it's just not an enjoyable experience. So I would really take the heat over the humidity every single day. And again, I hope my wife is listening. She really does not enjoy it because I tell her that all the time, especially during high periods of humidity. But with all that said, let's dive into today's episode, which is teaching your kids grit through fitness. Now, early on, before our daughter was born, I was going to the gym. That's been instilled in me for quite a while now through my parents and through my siblings. But when I had my daughter, it was just something, and she just turned 2, but just something just flipped where I was like, I want to be that inspiration for her. And I found that through fitness, that it's a tool that can teach kids resilience, perseverance, and mental toughness. I mean, you go to the gym and you try and try again. Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed. When it comes to, say, running, I can't I don't know anyone that's ever not ran and said, "Okay, I'm gonna go run a mile for the very first time in my life." And you go out and do it, and you're like, "Wow, like I really enjoy that." Most people are like, "That really sucked." I am definitely out of shape, and that's what happens when you haven't done it before. But you persevere and you show up the next day and the next day and the next day, and you continue to just grow as a person. And then because of that, you're teaching your kids this resilience, this perseverance, and this mental toughness. I mean, anyone that is crazy enough to go out and do an Ironman or do these events, these ultra marathons, the Western States or Level 100, Hard Rock, and or even Cocodona, which I believe is about 250 miles, 260 miles, just absolutely crazy events. I haven't done them before, but looking at those events, like, imagine what that teaches your kids, like, and what they're going to tell their friends, like, 9 times out of 10, their friends' parents, maybe they will go to the gym, but I don't even say 9 times out of 10. I think like 1% of America has ever ran a marathon, if that. But you get to go through and be like, I ran 100 miles in 24 hours, 28 hours, however long it took you, but you qualified for the finish. You didn't get a DNF, and imagine what that would teach your kid. Same thing if you're doing an Ironman. You're swimming over 2 miles, you're biking over 100, you're running a full marathon on top of that. Imagine like what that is teaching your kids when they say, "Oh, I can't do something," or that this is tough. It's like, yeah, this is tough, but running 100 miles, that sucks. I mean, at least that's what I imagine. I mean, the longest I ran is a marathon, and I got 21, 22 miles in, and that definitely started to suck. So I think it's just a building block for your kids to just, again, going off of that resilience, that perseverance, and the mental toughness. I find that you have to have your passion and you have to have your perseverance for when it comes to your long term goals. Anything that is worth accomplishing is going to take a while. Now, wildly different for myself than running or doing a full Ironman, but did a sprint triathlon. I thought I knew swimming, and I paused there because I know how to swim. I don't have any problem in the pool. But when all of a sudden I'm having to swim half a mile or a mile, it's you have a lot of discomfort, but you continue to show up and you continue to put in the work, and then over time it just becomes a little bit easier and a little bit easier, and it allows my daughter to see that just because something is hard doesn't mean that it can't be accomplished. And that's so true, especially when it comes to marathon. Unless you're already in shape, most people, I would imagine, aren't able to just get out of bed and go run a marathon. If you can, more power to you. But when I hit that marathon and I wanted to quit mile 21, 22, and it's just dragging on. I hit the wall. I can't focus. My AirPods died. The last place I want to be is having to run 5 more miles. But I knew in the back of my mind, if I quit, what legacy am I going to be leaving for my daughter? That, oh, when the going gets tough, we just quit, we just give up? No, that's not what you want to teach your son or your daughter. You want to continue to push forward even when it does get tough. or when I'm doing my, again, sprint triathlon. So take that for what it is. For those of you who are out there who have done sprint triathlons, this isn't a discredit or anything. This is an awesome event to do. And doing the sprint triathlon where the gears break on my bike and I have no gears, I'm stuck in the highest gear and I'm going down up and down rolling hills and I can't make it up because I'm literally in the highest gear and I have to figure out what to do on the fly. Yeah, maybe I could have given up, but at the same point, again, what am I going to be teaching my daughter if I do give up? And that's why I believe that grit is one of the most powerful traits that you can help your child to develop. It's going to pay off in whether in school, in sports, in life. I mean, and I've talked about it before, but there's times I go to the gym and let's say I want to go. I'm trying to think of a real example that happened this week at the gym. Oh, it was benching. So I mix it up when I bench and when I do just dumbbell chest press. So I went through and just did a warm up set, went in 165, did 2 sets of 8. Okay, great. Now I'm going to go 175, 185, and go up from there. 175, I could only get up for 4. And I mean, it was a struggle to get up those 4. And I'm like, I had no problem benching 185 for reps. Why am I struggling on 175? But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to show up to the next time in the next week at the gym. Am I just not going to show up and be like, oh, I'm never going to bench again just because for whatever reason today when I'm trying to bench it isn't working out? Like, no, you're going to continue to show up. And if you don't, I mean, you don't. I don't. That's just not me. And I believe if you're a listener of this podcast, that's not you. You want to continue to show up and put in the work each and every day. And for me, it's just, again, it's just being that inspiration for my daughter so that she can see what I'm doing when it comes to running and these races. At the gym, she doesn't know as much. She obviously can't see it. I'll come home if she's awake. Hey, where was daddy? Gym. So she knows that much. Obviously, she doesn't know what I do at the gym, but I'm just building that foundation so that she can see what I'm doing. Fitness just naturally builds resilience, and I would say that primarily comes through the discomfort and discipline. Yeah, some days it freaking sucks getting up at 4:15 in the morning in the dead of winter to get to the gym. The car is cold, I'm cold the whole way. Gym's not that warm. I'm coming home, still cold all the way home. I come out of the gym, it's still pitch dark. Like, that sucks. I don't know anyone that says, "Hey, I love getting up in the pitch dark, driving in the freezing cold when it's 10 degrees, walking out of my car in shorts, freezing, doing my workout, coming home, still in the dark." But I show up every single day because I have built that discipline over time. And again, that's the same thing that I want to teach my daughter is just because it's uncomfortable or it doesn't seem like an enjoyable experience, you have to push through and to build that discipline. And the same thing can be said about discomfort. Sometimes I don't feel like squatting or deadlifting, but I do it anyway. I push through that discomfort. And this isn't to say pushing through an injury or being dumb or anything like that. So sometimes when you go to the gym, I really do not want to squat today. But I squat anyways because, again, I don't let that little voice in my head pull back on the resistance that I'm feeling, and I still push myself to push forward. An important part of this, when it comes to fitness, is the concept of delayed gratification, which means training now for results later. I know that when I first started my running journey, I wasn't going to go from running 10-minute miles to 9-minute miles in a few days. It's just being consistent. It's showing up each and every single day and continuing to run day after day, week after week, continuing to put in the miles. And then over time, you start to notice that your pace and how fast you run starts to go down. And I think that's really important when we have our children, is that importance of delayed gratification, because sometimes they want everything right now. And yeah, it's hard. I'm not going to say like sometimes I cave in because I don't want to hear my daughter scream, you know, kicking and screaming. So I give her what she wants, but I don't want to necessarily do that all the time. But I think fitness is the perfect epitome for when it comes to training now for results later. I would say that going to the gym is a perfect way especially when it comes to your kids, to introduce them to challenges. And again, that could be going to the gym and going all the way to failure. It could be going up in weight. It could be trying out new exercises. And it's super uncomfortable when you go to the gym. When you go to the gym. If you've never been to the gym and you're showing up to the gym for the very first time, it's gonna feel awkward. I mean, even when I show up to a new gym that I haven't been to before, so transferred colleges, went to a new gym, lived in a town, went to a new gym, moved to town, went to a new gym, moved to a different town, went to a new gym. Yeah, it's uncomfortable in that sense, but again, if you never been in the gym, it's going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be a challenge for you to figure out what to do and it hurts. But again, you continue to push yourself through it because you don't want to teach your kids that just because they're encountering a challenge doesn't mean that they can't accomplish it. I want to dive in a little bit about setting the example as a parent. Now, as a parent, I want to be the model of consistency for my daughter, the model of effort, and the no quit mindset. And I know I touched a little bit about that when it came to getting up when it was dark in the middle of January in upstate New York and it's freezing, the no quit mindset when it comes to going to the gym. And then same thing with effort. I mean, you could go to the gym and you could just go through your workout and that's it. But is that necessarily how you want to go through? I want to make sure that when I'm in the gym, I'm putting my best effort forward. Most of the time I'm in the gym, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And it's during that time, there's no texting, there's no being on the phone. Yes, I'll be having some music playing, my AirPods, but I'm all focused. And that's so important for our kids because there's so many distractions, especially in this day and age, that I want them to put in their full effort. And again, to have that no quit mindset, like unless like something severely goes wrong, if I have a terrible injury or who know who knows what happens, at the end of the day. But I'm not quitting. I'm finishing this. I don't freaking care if I have to walk, if you have to drag me. I am finishing this race. And that was just my mindset going into the marathon. Like I've trained so hard for this. I've gotten up 4:15 on Saturday mornings and I've been running these backcountry roads for 2 hours without seeing a freaking single car. and I'm scared that a bear is gonna come out and want to chase me. But I know that like I put in this effort and my legs are shot. I'm dying. It's killing me, but I'm not going to quit. I know that when it comes to race day, I'm going to continue to push forward. And that's the same message that I want to have for my daughter. And I even think, even when you're not talking fitness related, like job hunting, like I'm going all in. Like I'm attacking this. Like I am making sure that I get this done. And the same could be said in the side hustle and really like anything that you do in life. I know I'm referencing myself, but it's just having that no quit mindset. And again, like when I'm running a race, you got to drag me out of it. Like I have to be in cardiac arrest. Something has to be going on where I can't finish this race. Now, when it comes to my own fitness journey, my daughter has been, I believe she's been to all the races that I've done so far. And it's been a short period of time. It's been a little bit less than a year that she's been going to these races. And I find that she's starting to pick it up a little bit more. She can see that I'm running. She can obviously see other people running, but I can see that she's taking an interest in it. And I know that sounds odd because she's only 2 years old, but you can just see the lights going off and she doesn't know exactly again what's going on or what I'm doing. But I find that it's almost like silently teaching my daughter certain values. And I say this because there's been times in the last few weeks where I come home from a run and my daughter comes outside. My wife will open the door, she'll come out to greet me, and my daughter wants to go on a run with me. Now, as a 2 year old, I don't know how well that would go or how uh how much she would pay attention to what I'm doing. But again, it's just silently teaching her values. And it's just awesome to see, and it just makes me like, yeah, I want to push myself in these races, but I also want to be the inspiration for her and continue to do more of these races, to continue to push myself so she can see what I'm doing. With the goal is like, I wanted to be into fitness. I wanted to be into quote unquote the hybrid athlete lifestyle. We were running and doing these endurance events, but I don't want to force her to it. I want her to do it on her own end, which is why I want to be the one setting the example. Now, when it comes to fitness, I find that I can really help my daughter through frustration, fatigue, and even failures that she may encounter in life. Like sometimes I get frustrated, she gets frustrated, I have fatigue, she has fatigue. Sometimes we encounter failures, she encounters failures, excuse me, as well. And I find that it's just letting her know, like, when you're running this race, when you're doing these triathlons, when you're in the gym, some days I have the fatigue. I don't feel like showing up, but I do it anyways. And again, it just all goes back to setting the example for your son or for your daughter. I know I've touched about it a little bit before, but it's all about, for me, and building that grit, that resilience, is not quitting and pushing through. And again, when I talk about this, it's, you got to drag me out of there. I am not quitting under any circumstance. Now, I know I've touched on that, and I've beaten a dead horse on that, but I think that's just the mindset that you have to go into with anything. Like, I am completing this. I don't care how long it takes me. I am getting this done. Now, when it comes to fitness itself, and especially when you're dealing with a child, it's knowing how to motivate them and when you need to back off. And I think that's an important key moment. And it goes back to referencing what I was talking about a little bit earlier before, where you are being the example and not forcing them to do something. Like for me, my father and my brother and the rest of the family, they had been going to the gym. So I took an interest in it. They never forced me to do it. And that's what I want for my daughter. I want her to take an interest in running and lifting because I am doing it and I'm not forcing her to do it. Because I just feel like if I force her to do something, she's not going to want to do it. And if you're other parents out there and I'm totally wrong, you'll feel free to correct me. But that's just my inkling, is that if I push her and I push her too far, she's not going to want to do what I want her to do. I'd rather her want to do it on her own. Now, when it comes to fitness, it's all about celebrating milestones to build confidence. And that's something I want to get across for our daughter, that I trained for this race, I went off and did it, and now I'm celebrating. Maybe it's my 5th half marathon, maybe it's my first marathon, maybe it's first triathlon, but I'm celebrating it, and it builds that building block where when I started training for the sprint triathlon, I running was fine, that wasn't an issue. But biking and swimming, but especially swimming, that was very tough. And by the end of the summer, I was able to swim 1.2 miles on my own, no problem at all, knowing, okay, that's the difference that I would need if I'm doing a half Ironman, which is a 70.3. But it built that confidence in me where this was like super, super uncomfortable getting in the water, getting in the pool day after day after day. Like, at least for me, like when I'm swimming, like, this is scary, man. You're biking and you're running, you're on ground, like something goes wrong swimming, you're screwed. I know that there's people in the water in kayaks. It's a scary feeling when you're out there and in the back of your mind, like, could something go wrong, and you try to push that aside. But it because I put in the work, it allowed me to build that confidence, and that's something that I can share with my daughter. When it comes to fitness, again, it's all about goal setting, making progress, and reflecting on what happened. And I think that is just so important when it comes to your children, is setting goals and making progress and reflecting. If I have a goal, okay, I want to run a half marathon or a marathon, that's the goal. I made the progress, and then I reflect, okay, like, this is what I would do different in my marathon. Next time, here's how I might train different. And that's an important aspect for when I'm a parent and my daughter's setting goals, or I have goals, say I set for her. It's all about her making progress and then reflecting, okay, what went wrong? What went right? What can I improve upon next time? Now, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. And to just do a quick recap for you, fitness is a powerful tool that is going to help your kids grow resilient. And my encouragement to other parents is that you don't need to be perfect, just present and consistent. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope you tune into next week's episode where I discuss a week in my life balancing work, fitness, and fatherhood.